Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks, of course, for making your way here, for checking out the episode. I do hope you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up with the entire series. I do 3 new interviews every single week, a new one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, just like this one. Great way to keep you up to date on your favorite artists and discover those new ones. You can find us anywhere you get your podcast from as well. That includes Spotify, Apple Podcast, NPR, WFPK.org, Consequence, or right here on YouTube for the video versions. Anywhere you get your podcast from, you can subscribe to Kyle Meredith with. That's me, Kyle Meredith. Today, I get to talk with one of the great directors, Paul Feig. You know, Paul, he created Freaks and Geeks and Other Space. He's also directed A Simple Favor, Bridesmaids, Ghostbusters 2016, Spy, The Heat, Last Christmas. He's back with a new movie on Prime called Jackpot, starring Awkwafina and John Cena and Simu Liu. In fact, it's set in the near future. A grand lottery has been newly established in California. The catch: kill the winner before sundown to legally claim their multi-billion-dollar jackpot. So when Katie, played by Awkwafina, moves to LA, she mistakenly finds herself with the winning ticket. Desperate to survive the hordes of jackpot hunters, she reluctantly joins forces with amateur lottery protection agent Noel, played by John Cena, who will do everything in his power to get her to sundown in exchange for a piece of the prize. Paul and I are going to dig into the hilarity of this, working with John Cena and Awkwafina, how he's really found a great spot in action comedy. And we're also going to talk a lot about what it means to direct action comedy. We'll talk about some of his other projects as well. In fact, he's making a sequel right now to A Simple Favor. So I want to dig into that, all that, and a whole lot more as we talk Jackpot, out now on Prime. It's Kyle Meredith with Paul Feig.
Hey Kyle, how are you doing, man?
I'm great. It's great to meet you on here. Been a follower for a long time, as they say, the big fan line.
Oh, thank you. First time caller.
First time caller. Hey man, congrats on Jackpot. I was looking around at what you've been up to right now, and you just get back from Italy for shooting one thing, go immediately into promotion for something you shot before that, as you're getting ready to start on another project that's in the news. How you doing?
I'm great. When I'm working, nobody's happier than myself. I love to work. You know, I've tried my whole life to get to make movies, and there was one point where it didn't seem like they're going to let me make movies anymore. So I now I love to do it.
Yeah, and that's all it takes, right? Is just that moment where you think this could all go away.
Oh yeah, if you've been in movie jail once, man, you do not want to go back.
Well, this is such a fun movie. This is one of those movies where I immediately, like if I were 15, 16, I probably would have watched it 3 or 4 times in one weekend, memorized all the lines. Now in my 40s, I have to go back and with a pencil and paper to remember.
It sucks getting older, right? You'll always be younger than me, my friend. Just remember that, right?
What was I hearing about though? You said this, like you guys did this in 40 days. The shoot itself was 40, a quick shoot. Is that right?
Yeah, very challenging. That was the hardest part about this movie, is we really didn't have enough time, but we did it. We pulled it off. I mean, thank God for my great stunt team, headed up by the great James Young, who does a lot of the Marvel stuff, but they were so organized and able to come in and help us out with the stuff that we couldn't get with the main unit, and you know, get extra, our second unit stuff that we needed, and just get some of the stunt gags that didn't require my cast. So we all pitched in and got it done, and I'm so happy with the final product.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you've been through just about every scenario at this point, but when you've got such a, I don't know, high octane movie like this, but it's such a limited amount of time, like how much does that affect the actual job for you? Do you get the rush out of it? Does it help at all?
Yeah, you know, I like what I call runaway freight trains. You know, I always look for projects that are like ready to get going, or if something we're developing, like sell it and then like put it on a very tight schedule, at least to get it done. I mean, sometimes it's nice to have a little more breathing room when you're actually shooting the movie, but there is an energy that comes from moving fast. And you know, and I still, even though we're on a short schedule, I still do what's called French hours. Some call them continuous hours, which is we only work 10 a 10-hour day with no lunch or anything. There's food being passed around, but we never stop. So the energy of that, I think you get more done than you do on a 16-hour day with a lunch and meal penalties and all that kind of thing, because you're in it, you're focused, you're doing it, and then by the time everybody's tired, you go home.
You're making the argument for the 4-hour or a 4-day work week. That's what I'm hearing.
That's a little tight for my taste.
But it seems like you've really found this great footing in action comedy. I mean, over the past few, of course, you're doing other things too, but it's part of your greatest hits, I think, is what's happening here. Like, what is it about it that attracts, other than what I would say fighting seems like it lends itself to being funny anyway?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely that. I think physical comedy is great, but I also think action comedy is fun because there's so much else that you're hanging the comedy on. And the main thrust of it is not the comedy, it is the dramatic underpinning of the story, of the characters, of the character arcs, and then you just build the comedy up from there. But, I always say that my movies are dramas that are funny because, you have to have that dramatic core. When you see movies that are just all comedy and all jokes, they're really fun. But, there's a moment sometimes you look at your watch like, okay, I'm just kind of going joke to joke here. I'm not invested in this. And what an action comedy does also, if it's not done silly, is that you are pulled along by your fear of these characters being hurt or being killed. That's why you can't have a funny villain. You can have a villain who has funny moments, but you can't have a silly villain. And so, that's why I love Simu Liu in this movie. Is he's really intimidating, but he can land some really good jokes. I mean, his run about LaCroix is one of my favorite joke runs I've ever had in a movie.
That's true. When you're saying that, of course, I'm going back in my head, and you're completely right. I was even like, I've heard you talk about, obviously Jackie Chan, I think, was a big part of this, but even the Three Stooges. And earlier today, I was watching, what was it? It was Abbott and Costello meets Dr. Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah. Although I grew up watching those movies.
Yeah, I was just thinking there's so many different versions of like comedy duo, and movie monster. Whatever. I'm pretty sure that's the correct combination of it.
Yeah.
But even the physical comedy that comes out of that, and thinking like they had that so perfect. We're coming out nearly 100 years ago is what we're looking at, over 100 years ago for some of it. If you're looking at Chaplin, and then you come into a movie like this, and maybe you don't have to reinvent the wheel, but you got to find what's fresh. I mean, how much is that a part of the equation?
It's a huge part of the equation. I mean, people won't put up with like an old idea, or it's really hard to get people excited about that. Execution is definitely a big part of things, and as they, say there's only 7 stories in the world, or however they break that down, really, and it's all variations off of that. But, you have to have a fresh idea in the middle of it. And that's when I first read this script. I was like, this is great, because there's a really insanely high stakes core of this, which is you will get killed, and then somebody who doesn't even know what's going on accidentally gets put in a situation where they are the target. Right there, you've got the audience is sitting forward like, oh my God, what's going to happen? So then I can just hang all this comedy on it. Comedy works the best when there's danger. And if it's a romantic comedy, there's a danger of being sad, of having your life fall apart, of whatever. And in action comedy, it's about the danger you're going to get killed. And that just raises everything so much in a way that, just a joke fest doesn't.
Yeah. I love that it's set sort of close enough in the future with everything that's happening today that seems like that could be possible. Like, I don't think it's going to get there, obviously, suspension of belief, but that could be possible.
Right.
Like, because anything's possible at this point. Like, What was it? The Depression of 2026?
Yeah.
I think is what we...
Great Depression of 2026.
Like, oh, man. I don't need that part right now, but...
I know, exactly. You got to go dark to get light,
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. But it is one of those things, like, how far can you take it without it getting too real, if that's...
Yeah. To me, the big thing when I read this script that made me go, I have to do this, other than loving the whole concept, was the fact that Rob Yescombe, who wrote it, put in that the only rule is that there's no guns. And I think if there's guns were allowed in this, it'd be a much different movie. And I think it'd be a less fun movie. I think it would be kind of an ugly movie. But that's what made me happy. It was like, okay, cool. So we're just down to primal, grab what you can and try to take somebody out. And then it levels the playing field too, because if it was all guns, you go like, well, she's dead, and so if it's just a lot of people shooting and missing, then okay, well that's we've all seen episodes of Cannon where with his little gun he can shoot guys and nobody can seem to hit this big guy running around, So that's the kind of thing that I think makes you buy into it and not be so worried about the person that you can't enjoy yourself. Again, we're still a comedy, so you want to have the ability to people to have fun, even though they're worried.
And without giving anything away, the other thing I really loved about the wrap up is, while there is a wrap up and there seems to be some lessons learned by people, as an overall, it's not like the world becomes a better place. Like these dipshits are still going to be dipshits. Right. I feel like by the end of it.
Yeah, no, totally. It's really about finding humanity in the middle of a sort of inhuman situation. And the thing I love about this concept, unlike The Purge, which nobody loves those movies more than me. I really think those movies are great. But in The Purge, everyone's in it. Nobody in society has an exit card, so it's terrifying. This, you voluntarily join up. So if you're somebody who is desperate enough or thinks you're enough of a badass to get in there and either win the lottery and fend off everybody from killing you, or you're going to get in there and take out whoever did it, whoever wins, that's your choice. And so I think that, to me, makes it a little less dark, because we're not saying all humanity sucks. We're just saying there's just a portion of humanity that's probably a little less moral than the rest of us.
Yeah, and I believe that. Of course, John Cena and Awkwafina, I mean, they're the perfect pairing. How did you land on them? I mean, did they have them, like, was that the idea from the beginning? How does that process work?
Well, I was very lucky, because when the script was sent to me, they were already attached. So talk about getting a great script, a great idea, and two amazing cast members right out of the gate. But I have to say, if they weren't attached, I think I would have ended up casting both of them, because they're just perfect for the role. I mean, Nora is so funny, but she's so relatable, and she's, such a surrogate for the audience. And the fact that she hasn't, even though she's been in action movies, she hasn't really done action. I had no interest in putting somebody in the lead of this who we've seen kick ass before, because what fun is that? The fun of this is like, this is a normal person who's suddenly in way over their head, who has to learn how to fight on the fly. And then John, what I love about John is he's not coming in as this sort of toxic, masculine, superhero. He's coming in as this sweet guy who just wants to do the right thing. And he just happens to be a big, gentle giant of a guy who's willing to fight, but he's also not willing to hurt anybody. He really wants to make sure he's just doing enough to keep them away from her. So it makes it... I want everything in my career to be good-natured, even if it can get super dark in the middle. It always needs to kind of have a positive message at the end.
You still want to put the helmet on the person before you throw them out of the car.
Put the helmet on the person. You're not a monster. Just get them out of the car.
Was the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles song in the script?
Yeah, that was scripted in. Full disclosure, I'm not a Teenage Mutant Ninja, knowledgeable person, but I just thought it was such a funny runner for him, and we added it in a few more times just because I thought it was a funny character thing for him. And so the fact that he's, comparing himself to, one of the, he's not Donatello. He's
Michelangelo.
Michelangelo,
yeah.
Exactly. Thank you so much. So we had a lot of fun with it, just because there's something funny to me about, having been a loyal Comic-Con goer for 30 years and growing up as a sci-fi nerd, adults who are still into that stuff. I have a special place in my heart because I'm one of those people. And so I just thought it was really fun. I just think it's so fun that the idea of a big, giant guy like John Cena is obsessed with the Mutant Ninja Turtles.
So I come at it from the music nerd side of things.
With the Partners in Crime.
Like
Exactly.
What's that?
Partners in Crime. Do the song.
Yeah.
There you go.
So even in that world, like, that's sort of a deeper cut. even in the musical landscape of that world, the Ninja Turtles. So
Yeah,
that's
we go deep. We got some of our wrestlers are deep. My favorite weird thing that we have is that Nora's character in her audition chooses to do the Samuel L. Jackson monologue from Deep Blue Sea, which the audiences never laugh at when the woman goes like, "Is that from Deep Blue Sea?" And I think it's the funniest joke in the world. So I know there's some people out there that get it.
Yeah, and that'll mean the world to them. That it was that deep of a cut.
Exactly.
I love that. And I'm just you had Sean William Scott playing First Girl, and the whole thing, and MGK, which I'm always surprised at how much I enjoy seeing him in film roles.
MGK is such a super talented guy who people want to sometimes put down, and I think he's the greatest. He is so smart and funny and so open. We got a call from his people, like he's kind of interested in doing something like this. I was like, really? Because I was trying to think of who to put in that cameo. We had a few people we were thinking about. And, but you're also like, oh, it's a rock star. Is he going to say, you always want to do this and do that? He showed up. He was ready for anything. And you see the movie. We shoot the guy in the face. We drag him downstairs. We throw him in a pool. Like you got to have a good sense of humor to be put through that.
Yeah. Did you see him in Cameron Crowe's Roadies? Like he was the heart of that show, and that's what caught me by surprise.
Oh no, I never saw that. I saw Good Morning, which I really think is really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, just yeah. I mean, guys, multi-talented. You hate them. You hate them when they're that talented. You love them and you hate them.
There you go.
All that to say, Jackpot is so good, and just watching all the other stuff you're doing, and your drinks. I wanted to say, is it fair to say that a martini is the greatest drink of all time?
Yeah, it's the only true statement in the world. There's nothing better than a good cold dry martini.
Would it destroy you if I said that lately I've been doing mine dirty with vodka?
I'm ending the interview now. I'm sorry. It's all over. That's okay. I'll let it go. At least you got the dirty in there, so at least you're tasting something. Because vodka doesn't have any taste. It's made to not have any flavor. So if you have a vodka martini, you're just basically having water that can get you drunk with a little bit of vermouth in it. So that's all I'm saying.
No, I get it. I'm based in Louisville, as Kentucky, so of course we're bourbon country, and the whole thing, like you don't put the mixers, and I love bourbon.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that's my thought is like, am I completely bastardizing this martini? And here I am
with the
doing
dirt,
the thing that we're not supposed to do.
No, there's nothing wrong with the dirt. Just take the vodka out and put in the gin. Yeah. Then you'll be much happier. And put in Ardingstall's Brilliant London Dry Gin, because that's the best. Because that's mine.
That's yours. I appreciate that. I'm gonna be doing it. Only left to say, Simple Favor 2, I know, is the next big thing, and we're so excited to see that 6 years later. Like, did you maybe think that there was this? Like, is this the first sequel you've done?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. First sequel. Nothing. I never wanted to do a sequel before, but I had an idea for this, and I love those characters, and it was just like, maybe we do have more to tell with them. And I'm so happy that we did it, because I'm in the middle of my director's cut, but we did our first test screening last week, and it scored really, really high. So it's a lot of fun. I'm really, really happy with it. It's as nuts as you think it should be.
It's really interesting when you have that opportunity. Like, I think I'm surprised. I'm as surprised in the folks who say I don't like to do sequels, that the story's done, as I am surprised in the people that would just be tempted all the time to continue those stories.
Yeah,
for all their characters.
No, I mean there's definitely a seduction about doing sequels and continuing a story, especially when you're in the middle of something. Because when you're in the middle of it, you're so in love with your cast, and you're having such a good time, you're so creatively in that world that you're like, let's do the next one, let's do the next one. But it's only once you kind of finish the whole process that either you're like, we got to do another one, or you're most of the time like, okay, I need to break from that. And it's not that you didn't have a good time, it's just kind of, you want to try new things, or I do, so sometimes when I see people who are just doing, who are in the big machine and doing them one after another, I know they're having a good time, but at the same time I'm like, I'm glad I'm not doing that at the moment, just because it's really fun to create a new situation, with new characters. It's fresh. It's like, getting new friends. I don't know. It's really fun.
Yeah. Then you wait about 10 years and
Oh yeah,
you do it then.
Or 6 years, like I did with Simple Favor.
6 years, something. What is statute of limitations? There's got to be something in there where it's like, okay, now it's cool, now it's fine.
I know.
Now you can do
Well,
it.
I guess we started the process about 3.5 years in, so not so bad.
I'll let you handle the math.
There you go. My head will explode.
Seriously, Paul, congratulations on Jackpot. It's such a fun movie. I'm so happy you got to be a part of this, and I'm always looking forward to what you do next. So thanks for taking the time.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, and more fun to come.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.